4.8 megawatt of power, which will be leased to Dominic by the government on very favorable terms. And of course, I'm stressing favorable terms, and the whole intention of that is to ensure that whatever the terms that will enter in Dominic, it won't trigger an increase in the cost of electricity to our consumers. If we're to allow Dominic to buy them, then Dominic will have to pass it on to the consumers. So we are buying them, and we will list it to Dominic at favorable terms, so that we cushion that increase, that expenditure against the consumers. These units will be shipped to Dominica on December 2nd, and so once they get in by very early next year, we will be in a position to have them connected to the grid, and we believe that that will address the generation capacity by replacing new generators with old ones, because the intention of the government is to ensure that we have a 10 megawatt generation capacity with new generators going forward, to ensure that the wear and tear on these current ones will not cause us to be in a situation of load shedding. So we're working Dominic on the immediate, on the medium term, and of course the long term. And the longer term will involve the introduction of geothermal, which will arrest the situation completely. So we'll continue to work with Dominic to address and arrest the situation and return its operations to normalcy. This is a situation that affects us all, and which we admit is unsustainable in the long term. In government standpoint, we are self-generating most of the time to ensure that consumers can have access to electricity, and one can appreciate the added cost to the government. So monies that we should be using to pay service providers, we have to buy additional diesel to generate at the financial center, at the hospital, and other government facilities, so as to minimize and reduce the frequency of which some consumers have been affected. And so we're taking every action where this is concerned. And so we'll provide Dominic with all the support required. My only admonition to Dominic is that I believe Dominic has a duty, an obligation, and a responsibility to speak more to the Dominican public. It shouldn't take me to tell the Dominican public that the generators arrive on Friday the 10th. I think that's Dominic's responsibility. And I think they need to engage the public more and share information, as small as it is. People need to know what's happening so that they can organize themselves much better. And even the way we communicate, the communities that are to receive load shedding, we have to review this. Dominic needs to review this. This WhatsApp message that most of us don't read sometimes. We have to find ways of communicating with people much better. And I think Dominican people are reasonable people, with the exception of a handful. But Dominicans are reasonable people. I think if we engage them in discussion, we share them the information, I think they'll understand. They'll understand what's happening, understand what is being done to address the situation and so forth. I will end here and to allow you to put forward your questions. I see Carla has both a cell phone questions and his handwritten questions and so on. Please.
Yes. Okay, thanks, Prime Minister. I have a few questions.
Sure.
The first one I want to deal with is some comments from two archbishops. We have Archbishop of Trinidad and Tobago, Jason Gordon, and former Bishop of Roseau, now Archbishop of Castro St. Lucia, Gabriel Malze, who they are speaking out about a recent agreement that was signed, and Archbishop Gordon is praising Trinidad and Tobago for not signing it. What I'm reading there is that it was signed by St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We want to know if Dominica signed the agreement, and if they did, what is in it for Dominica? Because from what I am listening to from the archbishops, there are serious implications, LGBT, etc., etc. I have a lot more questions, but I'll come back after. But this is very important.
Well, you know, I'm a Catholic. Everybody knows that, and I do follow Archbishop Gordon from time to time. I believe he's he is a great leader of the Catholic Church, and the content of his sermons are always, very well thought of and researched, and I think his sermons usually and all of the time really help us in our journey towards heaven. And so I have the greatest admiration for Archbishop Gordon, and of course Archbishop Malzeo. Of course I have the greatest of respect for, and I have listened to both of their sermons in respect to this agreement, this Samoa agreement. So I will not respond. I'm not responding to them. I'm responding to the general concerns that have been raised. The point is, we don't believe that the agreement, I'll say the Samoa agreement, that have been negotiated between the EU and the African and Caribbean states, which is a replacement of the Cotonou Agreement. And when you go to the Cotonou Agreement, some of these articles and clauses that are captured in the Samoa Agreement are similar in nature. And I believe that there are really two areas where there is an interpretation of the language that would give one the impression that those things that have been pointed out are in fact in the agreement, but they're not in the agreement. And I want to draw to your attention, and for the listening public, it's a 403-page document, and so I will draw to your attention to a couple of the areas that readers may want to go to and to look at and to form an interpretation of it. There's Article 29, which speaks to health. And you go under Article 29, you go to Section 5. And Section 5 says, the parties shall support universal access to sexual and reproductive health commodities and healthcare services, including for family planning, information and education, and the integration of reproductive health into national strategies and programs. This is what the document says. Article 48, gender equality and empowerment of girls and women. And under Article 48, you go to Section 7. And this is what Section 7 says. The parties shall commit to the full and effective implementation of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action and the Program of Action of the International Conference on Population and Development and the outcomes of the review conferences. They shall further stress the need for universal access to quality and affordable comprehensive sexual and reproductive health information and education, take into consideration the UNESCO International Technical Guidance on Sexuality Education, as well as the need for the delivery of sexual and reproductive healthcare services. They shall pursue the effective implementation of the Montevideo Consensus on Population and Development as appropriate. As appropriate. And so some of the things that have been pointed out that are in the document are really not in the document. And I think people are looking at those sections and articles and indicating that there may be an opportunity for some of the things that we have concerns with may find themselves being implemented in our countries.
That is concern of the church.
Yeah. I respect the concern of the church, and I don't think the concern of the church may necessarily be misplaced. I think what the church may want to say to us instead is to caution us against going on that route. But it is not in the agreement. You understand? It's not in the agreement. And so I give my dear leaders of the Catholic Church the assurance that this is not the case. We know, and quite rightly as I said, we know that there are international, the countries and organizations and institutions who have particular views on these things, and they would like for us to implement these things. But I don't think the population of Dominica is ready for these things. And if we're going to go to those areas, and I believe that we should do a referendum on these matters. But I don't think that those sections in in the agreement, articles in the agreement really is saying that's what we're doing. Even when you go to the document and they speak about the death penalty, the document recognizes that the countries who have the death penalty, all they're asking for countries where you have the death penalty is that we go through the necessary legal processes and give the individuals a fair hearing and go through all of the exhaustive processes and so forth. But I don't think the document itself highlights what are being pointed out in the public domain. Of course, we can read it further. Of course, people have different interpretations of the Bible, of the document, like we have in the Bible. People have different interpretations, and so it will all be left for interpretations. So, but in terms of the language, I do not necessarily believe that that's the case. We intend to sign.
I was going to ask, did Dominica sign?
No, Dominica, we were not able to attend the Samoa conference, but we intend to sign. I believe overall it is a good document. It could be more refined. It could be something in an agreement of everything you want that you will get. But it is a framework document that is not necessarily imposing any particular ideals or views on us in the African and Caribbean and Pacific region. Always it has to go to your national circumstance, your national laws, the provisions of your constitution, etc., etc. But it is a framework document that is no different to other framework documents that the world has signed onto. And I referenced there the Beijing Declaration and Platform of Action and the Program of Action of International Conference on Population Development and so forth. And so I don't think in this world we always have to be vigilant, and I'm happy that the Catholic Church is vigilant and on that, and I commend Archbishop Gordon and Archbishop Miles on the very forthright and very clear setting up of the alarms and so on, and forewarning. So I prefer make it considered to be a forewarning rather than the document itself. But I intend to speak to Archbishop Miles on his document and to see what other views he may have or concerns he may have, and to see whether they're well placed or not necessarily well placed. Yeah.
Okay. They keep coming fast and furious. First of all, Dominic saying that they're doing all that they can on social media, etc., etc., and they think that they are totally tuned with the public. You just read your comments and they say they are in tune with the public as to what you are saying. Not that I'm speaking for Dominic. But someone says that as the Prime Minister how concerned he is with the ongoing Venezuelan and Guyana border dispute, and what is government's position on the matter, especially with Venezuela to hold a referendum in December. Also, PM, we want some update as it relates to the lighting situation of the Windsor Park Stadium. Where are we at this moment and what is going on? And we've been hearing also a lot about the Dominica-China Friendship Hospital. In terms of doing blood, you cannot do it there, you have to go to the private entity. They seem to have some serious issues going on there. We want to know what is the latest on that. And someone sent me something about the Bureau of Standard. I'll pause here for now. Let you answer this.
Well, on the Dominic point, I will try to restrain myself on this matter. I recognize that Dominic is doing all that they can. But in the same token, the fact is, everybody in Dominica has been affected by this load shedding. And all I'm saying is that Dominic needs to speak more to the people and share more information to the Dominican public. And to come to me about Facebook and everything, who in Penville is on Facebook? Who in the Carnival territory is on Facebook? Do you think I have the time to be on Facebook every day myself? Or you? So they should not miss the point I'm making. They should not miss the point that I'm making. Because at the end of the day, ultimately I'll be held responsible. Even if I have nothing to do with it. Because from the time we acquired Dominic, I have never gotten involved in the management of Dominic. I have supported them. So all I'm saying to them, and people must not take offense to views. All I'm saying to them is that they need to speak and share. And if they're in tune, they'll be saying the same thing I'm saying, because I'm expressing the views of the Dominican public, you know. Because most people have my phone number, and they send me messages. I read what they say. The people on post things, I follow. I have to, as the Prime Minister, I have to listen to what people say. I have to read what they say. So all I'm saying, people are saying to me is that, and I agree with them, that we need to speak more. Even in the financial center, some lights going, we're not part of the load shedding. That's all we're saying. So let us not be too sensitive, and it's not personal. You understand? So let's leave that aside. On the Venezuela-Guyana situation, we've been in touch with both countries. We believe in the territorial sovereignty of all countries, and we continue to ensure that there are no conflicts between Guyana and Venezuela in this matter. The government of Venezuela decided to carry out a referendum. That is in their right to carry it out. There is a process in place to address this border situation, and while this is these are sovereign issues, we're there to support and to facilitate whatever dialogue and possible resolution to this long-standing border situation between Venezuela and Guyana. In respect to the Windsor Park lighting, there's some issues there, contractually, and so I believe that work on this has been suspended because there were some technical issues that needed to be resolved by the ministry, because the ministry they gone ahead and they gave the lighting. They did the lighting in 2 phases. Obviously, I suspected they may have done so because of cost. So they would do it in 1 phase, that is to run the electricals, put the bases for the light fixtures, and then the 2nd phase would be the procurement of the lights and the light fixtures. But we're being told that there may be a possibility that the bases may not fit the light structures and fixtures, and therefore we had to suspend to ensure that both are aligned. And so this is where we are with regards to the lighting, and I'm hoping that the ministry is concerned will continue to engage to have this matter resolved. Okay. The Dominican China Friendship Hospital, you said that the blood work have been sent out to private entities. This is a practice that has always been there for one reason or the other. Sometimes it's justified and other times it may not be. But I do not have the response on this specific issue of the blood work going out to private entities, and why they're going out to private entities. But I know from time to time, either machine may be down or something happens and temporarily otherwise, and the reality is sometimes Dominicans just prefer to go to a private person. People Dominicans like to go to private doctors and private facilities. So even if sometimes they can do it at the hospital, they rather go to a private enterprise. But it's a matter I'm sure the Ministry of Health is taking note of the hospital, and they'll be able to respond to you with more specific details. Okay.
I have a follow-up as it relates to the Venezuela.
You already come for me this morning, eh, man?
Well, yeah.
But go ahead.
Because they have to come, you know.
No, they come
They have to come. The follow-up is that how worried are you of the possibility of Venezuela annexing portions of Guyana and the possibility of a regional conflict would result in military action?
I don't think this will happen. My simple response to this, I don't think this will come down to any military action. I don't think so.
But does CARICOM have a position as it relates to that?
Well, I don't think it'll happen. I can tell you, I don't foresee any military action on this. I mean, this is a highly contentious situation, but I don't think it'll come down to military action at all.
Okay. On the local scene, we see that the chief of police, his contract, his time for going on pre-retirement leave ended, and he's been given some contract. We want to find out what is the basis for that. That seems to be out of the norm. Normally, you know, once your time is up, you know, then so we're trying to find out the reasons for that.
First of all, it's not out of the norm. You have several instances throughout the public service and indeed the police service where officers are required to go on pre-retirement leave. So they have not reached the age of retirement. But they have leave that they have accumulated over the years, and sometimes you pay them for the leave and allow them to continue in that position. And of course, there are arrangements within the public service, and there are several police officers who have been given that opportunity to extend. From time to time, issues come up. Of course, you had independence season coming up. You had other matters regionally that we were dealing with. And it was the considered view of the Minister for National Security that he would like the chief of police to stay on until the end of December. So he's really just for 2 months, while he addresses certain issues that he had concerns with. And I agreed with his recommendation and advice, and asked the chief of police to remain for 2 months in the office of chief of police. So he is not retired, he is on pre-retirement leave. You have to demit office, vacate the position when you get to the retirement age. But he has leave that will take him to retirement age. But we can ask, if we wanted, we could pay him for all of the leave that he has and allow him to stay. So this will happen from time to time, but there's nothing untoward about it or anything of any concern where national security is, that the public should have any concerns about him. Okay?
All right. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Good morning. For some reason, I thought you were out of bounds, meaning that your conspicuous is silent for a while, so I'm a little concerned about that.
Yeah.
But I'm happy you're back, and of course, engaging the media. Sir, there are many questions to be asked. Recent times we've heard, sir, as it relates to salary increases, not only for the public officers, but for the Prime Minister and his cabinet. Can you clarify as to how much, and if you did get an increase, can the economy, given the increase, can the economy hold up for this?
Yeah. So, okay, well,
one question.
Yeah. As you know, the government engaged in a reclassification exercise of the public service, and to look at the job descriptions, the terms of engagement, the emoluments, that is to say, salaries and allowances for all public officers and police officers, because as you know, the police service falls under a different act as that of the public officers. And so the reclassification exercise was approved by Parliament in terms of the salary increases for public officers, and the majority of public officers, over 3,000 public officers, saw an increase in their salaries ranging from between 6 and 13% increases. Now, if you go to the last time the Parliament approved an increase for parliamentarians, so the increase was not only to the cabinet but to parliamentarians. If you look at the 2007 budget address, we would have indicated, and of course Parliament would have approved, that the Parliament salaries would be fixed against that of public servants. So if public servants were to get an increase in salaries, then the Parliament would get an increase in the salaries. And the reason for this was that before 2007, you had a situation where there were a significant number of public officers whose salaries were higher than that of the Prime Minister, higher than other ministers, higher than of parliamentarians. And to avoid, when we made the change of salary in 2007, to avoid you going back to that situation, we said, look, whatever increase the public servants receive, then there will be a formula that will be used to allow for a change in the salaries of parliamentarians, and of course the executive, the cabinet. And so you have a situation where the salaries of permanent secretaries, financial secretary, and the secretary cabinet increased. And you would have had a situation where the financial secretary and the cabinet secretary salary would have been maybe over $2,000 higher than that of the Prime Minister as a result of the reclassification. And so that was going along fine until the permanent secretaries themselves pointed that out to us and said, well, look, you have to there must be a change in the salaries of cabinet. And everybody knows me, I was very reluctant to go ahead with it, because I know how people react, and Skerrit get a salary increase and all these things, and we don't make it. But it had to be done. And so in keeping with the 2007 approval of the Parliament, and so that was extended as well to the Parliament. You have.
You're saying, sir, that 30% increase is justified.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm not sure the precise percentage increase. I will not speak about the percentage increase. And of course, we can share with you. This is public information. A salary of a Prime Minister is paid by the Treasury, and it goes to everybody, and it is published, and so forth. And so, in regards to the new publication of the salaries by public of every government official, that will be published and so forth. But if the question is, should we not have increased the Parliament salary if the Committee of Permanent Secretaries' salaries will increase, and looking at the 2007 decision of the Parliament and so forth. So I would caution us against making an issue about an increase in salary of parliamentarians or a Prime Minister or ministers, when others in the public service would have received an increase. And we all part of the public service. I may be the chief servant, but at least, we all part of the public service. So to say that the Parliament and the Cabinet should not get an increase, but others is fine, I don't think the argument is consistent.
So all parliamentarians?
All parliamentarians will got an increase. All parliamentarians. This was not only done for the Cabinet, but all parliamentarians, and that was done in keeping with the 2007 decision of the Parliament. And I can tell you, if the Committee of Permanent Secretary had received a reduction in salaries, I would have mandated that ministers and Parliament would have followed to get a reduction in salaries as well.
Any more questions to come, sir?
Yeah.
As it relates to, of course, you've been conspicuously silent as it relates to the issue all over the world, all golden passports on sale. So why have you not responded to the journalists around the world?
Well, I'm not sure what you talk about silent. I think I have been I've been very vociferous and very transparent with my engagement on this matter at all levels. I am the biggest voice in respect to the protection and the advocacy in respect to our citizenship by investment program and how important it is for Dominica. I will engage any and everybody, governments, stakeholders, organizations, international financial organizations, international security firms and due diligence firms, and our security architecture within CARICOM and elsewhere. We engage the United States Treasury Department, and on this matter, the State Department. We engage in the European Union and the EU Commission on immigration on our CBI program. A technical delegation, as a matter of fact, is going to the United Kingdom next week to hold discussions with the Home Office and the Foreign Commonwealth Office in respect to our CBI program and our engagement with them with regards to the revocation of visa-free to Dominicans. And that's what they'll be having a 2-day engagement with the technical people at the EU, at the UK. We're hoping to have discussions in the first quarter of 2024 with the European Union Commission to discuss whatever concerns they may have and recommendations they may have as to how we can strengthen and improve on the transparency and the integrity and the security of our programs, and we are very open to that. The reality is there are some people out there whose only mission it is to destroy Dominica and to destroy that which is assisting Dominica in its efforts towards building its own independence and its own development. And I am not going to engage people whose only interest it is to destroy Dominica. These people have not been to Dominica. They don't know how we live, they don't know how we sleep, they don't know how we eat, and they're not interested in that. But their only interest is to write in stories with the only intention of destroying Dominica. Haven't you asked yourself, man, what is the interest of these people you're referencing in Dominica? That they have not been to Dominica. They do not know. I mean, if you're writing a story, anybody can write a story. So it's a democracy, it's a free world, there's free speech and freedom of writing and freedom of expressions. But if you're hell-bent only to destroy, so you're not coming to talk about how important the CBI is to maintaining the NEP in Dominica and the $5 million we pay every month for NEP. You're not talking about how it's helping to create jobs where people are employed at Jungle Bay and Secret Bay and Intercontinental and under construction at Tranquility or Ocean Edge or wherever the others. You're not talking about the impact it's having on infrastructure of Dominica. You're not talking about it sustain us, especially during the COVID period, and of course the hurricanes and the resources that we're using to build resilience against climate change when the developed world is not keeping up to its commitment to providing the financing to us. And there's no other country in the world, none, where you have such programs, including in Europe, including North America, including the Caribbean, where there is clear visibility of the use of CBI funds like Dominica. None.
But would you agree that our passport fall in the wrong hands, sir?
I don't, I mean, you see, you cannot take one person, say out of 5,000, and say the program is bad. And I don't think the program should be held responsible if after you've received the citizenship, you go and you cause yourself to find yourself to be a fault in the law. We have many Caribbean citizens who have been sent back to Dominica after having received green cards from the United States. They found themselves, unfortunately, into some difficulty with the law, and they find themselves back. Do you blame the U.S. green card program for that? No. So I think smart people like yourself and others who engage these people, you have to ask them, what about the other side? So they come here and they look in. Yeah.
Well, do you think you have a responsibility as the head of state to answer questions from
I don't
international journalists?
I don't have any obligation to answer any questions from anybody in the world except Dominicans. I'm only answerable to Dominicans. I am prepared to have a conversation with people who want to have a sincere and honest and transparent discussion. But these people are being paid by people who wish to see this country come to its knees, so that the several people who are receiving benefits under the NEP will no longer have funds to do this, that they would like to see the international airport come to a halt, that the several homes that are being built for citizens across Dominica would stop, and the investments we're making in agriculture and tourism will come to a halt, and that's the motivation. If the motivation is to look at the CBI program, look at it in entirety. The concerns, the benefits, the issues, the shortcomings, the gaps, the benefits. Let's have a conversation. But it cannot be that, and you see, we have to be careful in Dominica that we don't make this a partisan issue. Because tomorrow morning I'll be gone. But we have a country to build and to foster and to mold. And I've seen this played out in some Caribbean countries where you're in opposition, you criticize these programs and government policies, you come in and you believe that the same people who you're working with to undermine the country will start working with you to build the country. No. It doesn't happen. Luckily, I've been around for long enough to see these things happen in the Caribbean. And so we have to be very careful in Dominica. Yes, they always, once you are alive on earth, you'll always be subjected to challenges, And these programs are an evolving program. The world itself is becoming is an evolving place with new and emerging challenges, things that the security people were dealing with 20 years ago is completely different from today. The health challenges that you had back then completely different from today. So you as time goes by, you have to do further examinations and review and peer review, and you have people from outside who have an interest to come and help you. And this is what we've done in the United States. The United States was invited to Dominica by myself to come and independently examine our CBI program, go through it, and make certain recommendations to us as to how they believe that we can improve on our program. And this is where this is part of the 6-point program. And we have implemented the 6-point program. We're doing interviews of people. We have put legislation in place. As a matter of fact, local lawyers are complaining about the difficulty of having names changed in Dominica. And we are increasing. As a matter of fact, we're just reviewing our legislation to bring in even more robust and stronger legislation that will go to Parliament next month to lay on the table in Parliament to seek parliamentary approval. So we continue to engage and we continue to engage various stakeholders and to examine our programs. And anybody who genuinely has an interest in the program, come look at the program and what it is. There was a follow-up meeting in the United States in October in Miami, where they went through the system. They've offered us additional support, which we have accepted. And so this is what we're doing, and this is what we're doing with the United Kingdom, engaging them. Look, what are your specific concerns about our program? What do you recommend we need to do to address this? And this is the engagement that we continue to have. This is the same engagement we have in the European Union. So we are, in fact, engaging stakeholders who have a genuine desire to assist us in addressing whatever concerns they may have. So we engage on that, and so forth. But I will not engage any economic terrorists who wish to destroy the welfare and well-being of Dominica. And they can write all the stories they want, but this is not going to cause us to change our position on this. And I would caution Dominicans against engaging these economic terrorists who write this unfounded, malicious statements about Dominica.
Strong words.
Very strong.
The Dominican Bureau of Standards, my understanding is that the contract of the director has not been renewed since December 20.
Which was that?
The Dominican Bureau of Standards. The contract of the director has not been renewed since November 2022. Also, the term of the National Standards Council expired in April 2023. 6 months now, no council. If you can give us an update on that. And also, what is there for the Dominicans and the barrels? We are approaching the Christmas. Can you tell us what your government has in mind for the people of Dominica as it relates to that service? Thank you.
Yeah. Just to say, well, in respect to the Bureau of Standards, there is a director in place. Maybe the contract of the one who was there before was not renewed, but there is a director and person who is responsible for the day-to-day management of the Bureau of Standards. I have taken note of the other points that you've raised so that we can clarify those points in the ministry. Okay? Yes, ma'am, please.
We recently set up a sperm whale reserve, right? But now we've also found out that our mountain chicken has now fallen to critically endangered category. Are we considering setting up a reserve for them? How concerned are we about that?
With respect to the sperm whale reserve, this is the first of its kind in the world, and I think Dominica is coming for tremendous international commendation for yet again taking a proactive, sensible, and sincere action to protect our marine ecosystem. And of course, the sperm whales are a unique animal to Dominica, and it is an opportunity for us to ensure their survivability. And we want to thank all international partners for working with us on this. I want to say to Dominicans that I received a very kind letter from His Majesty the King Charles III, congratulating Dominica on the establishment of the sperm whale reserve, which is exceptional news for us. So even His Majesty the King has taken time off to write me a letter to commend us, and we thank him most profusely for this very kind and generous letter. In respect to the mountain chicken, the crapo, this has been going on for more than 10 years now. There have been some degenerative challenges with the crapo. We've been engaging in studies with a UK firm who's been helping us tremendously over the years to see how we can address this degenerative issue confronting the